The Overseas Filipino Workers representative in the lower house asked the Department of Labor and Employment to explain the 1.7 billion pesos unused fund of the agency. Grace Casin will tell us why.
ACT's OFW Party List Representative John Berquis confronted DOLE Secretary Silvestre Bello III on the 1.7 billion unused fund of the agency in 2017. Berquis said, based on the 2017 COA report, Regions 1 and 2 did not receive any fund for the implementation of Tulong Pangkabuhayan sa Ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers Program or TUPAD. He cited that 75% of the 2 billion total appropriations for these programs were utilized under the other programs and administrative costs, while only 15% went to the agency's project. The lawmaker also noted that based on the special provision number 2 of the DOLE OSEC under 2016 to 2017 General Appropriations Act, only 5% of the amount can be utilized to cover the administrative costs of the program. Berquis wants an explanation on where the funds go.
Meron kasing mga tinatawag na ACPs, yung accredited co-partners, na pwedeng yung mga proyekto na yan, idaan doon yung pera. Kung alimbawa may mga NGOs, natatakot tayo baka mamaya maulit na naman yung mga nakaraang panahon ng Napoles, di ba? Na dinadaan dito sa mga ACPs or NGOs na to.
But Bello denied the allegation.
We were very fair, very conscious of the allocation of each program, Your Honor. We made it very sure, Your Honor, that the implementation of TUPAD is accounted for and fairly distributed to all agencies.
Even representative of one of the districts in Region 1 refuted the statement of Berquis.
As far as my district is concerned, I know for a fact that we have there TUPAD.
Tension also sparked in the hearing when some lawmakers mentioned about fake news.
Are we saying, Mr. Chair, that the COA is strong for this report? I would greatly appreciate getting a report coming from the...
One of them must be fake news.
Yeah. There's
One of them must be fake news.
Even COA fake news, Your Honor?
No, Mr. Chair,
Can we stop using the word fake news?
1 minute
suspension.
Other lawmakers insisted that they will look into the budget of DOLE and they will ask for an explanation of the unused fund. Grace Casin, UNTV, News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
DepEd assures that there will be available 80,000 classrooms for students for the next school year, although there had been a deep cut on their 2019 proposed budget. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of Education admits it is tough on their part to adjust to the new budget system of the government. From the proposed 732 billion pesos budget of the department for 2019, more than 200 billion pesos was cut from it. This is the reason why only 527 billion pesos was left in their fund for next year. From the 44,000 classrooms planned to be constructed for 2019, only 4,000 will be funded, but DepEd assures that schools will not be lacking of classrooms for the next school year. This is because they target to complete the construction of thousands of classrooms this 2018.
We have 80,000 ongoing classroom construction right now that will be delivered from this year until the second quarter of 2019. So meaning our 2019's opening of school year, you will have a lot of new classrooms.
There is also a big cut from DepEd's fund for basic education facilities, computerization program, indigenous people's education, and the development and promotion of campus journalism. After the 7-hour budget hearing last Tuesday, DepEd is now finding ways to have their fund fit their needs.
Third quarter pa lang of this year or even second quarter of this year, we're already preparing for the 2019 so that when 2019 starts, go na. And this we learned from actual experience last year.
On the other hand, the new budget system is advantageous on the supplier side, for they will surely get paid in a year for every project completed.
The budget is only good for that year, and therefore, they are also pressured to deliver as well as also get the payment. So lesser din po yung magiging investment cost nila.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV, News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The Department of Justice confirms that the results of the probe conducted on the questionable contracts entered into by the Nayong Filipino Corporation has already been forwarded to Malacanang. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara says the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel submitted the report after concluding its investigation on the alleged anomaly that led to the firing of the agency's officials. An estimated amount of $1.5 billion worth of contract was allegedly signed between Nayong Filipino and Landing Resorts and Development Corporation to build a mega casino in Parañaque City. Guevara is leaving the decision to Malacanang on whether to disclose the probe results.
Former Health Secretary Janet Garin and officials of the Department of Health and Sanofi Pasteur are facing fresh complaints in connection with the Dengvaxia controversy. Robbie de Guzman tells us why.
The Public Attorney's Office has filed 3 new complaints against former Health Secretary Janet Garin, several health officials and executives of Sanofi Pasteur and Zuellig Pharma. This is in connection with the deaths of Cristina Guzman, Enrico Liabres, and Clarissa Alcantara, who allegedly received Dengvaxia vaccine. PAO claims that the 3 victims were seen with same patterns after undergoing histopathological examinations where they felt headache, paleness, diarrhea, and stomach aches. Manifestations commonly seen among the cadavers were also evident, according to PAO forensics, such as bleeding of the brain and damaged internal organs. PAO Chief Parcida Acosta also took a swipe at DOH findings, accusing them of misdiagnosing 13-year-old Justine Alimanio.
Eh sabi nung bata, bago mamatay, nabakunahan siya. Sino paniniwalaan natin? Yung mga taga-DOH na empleyado ng idinidimanda? O ang bata bago mamatay? Kompleto ba? Ang master list ng DOH? Eh bakit ngayon lang sila nag-profiling? Bakit lang ngayon sila nag-i-issue ng bagong Dengvaxia card?
She also challenged the agency to release the official list of individuals who received Dengvaxia.
I-post nila lahat ang listahan para magkaalaman sino bang napakunahan at hindi. Ilang buwan na yung hindi binibigayan. Ang sabi nila, marami daw makakasuhan.
The respondents are currently facing reckless imprudence resulting to homicide, violation of anti-torture law, and Consumer Protection Act. The embattled officials has earlier denied the accusations and alleged irregularities in the immunization program. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Senators are eyeing to meet with the government's defense and security officials relating to the possibility of extending martial law in Mindanao after the deadly bombing in Isulan, Sultan Kudarat. According to Senator Coco Pimentel, the government should brief the lawmakers on the current situation in the region under the martial law.
The military, mag-briefing po sila. What is happening, or what have they done, and then how come in spite of martial law being still imposed in Mindanao, such an explosion in Sultan Kudarat still happened.
But for Opposition Senator Francis Pangilinan, there is no need for extension because the existing military rule proclamation has failed to prevent the bombing in Isulan. He also said in a statement that what is needed is a no-nonsense police work to put the criminals behind bars. Meanwhile, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is pushing for the eradication of the National Food Authority. The senator believes that the agency failed to fulfill its mandate of providing low price rice in the market given its 3 long decades of existence. If abolished, Gatchalian believes that rice prices would drop by 10 pesos per kilogram.
Every year, nagsasubsidize tayo close to 7 billion pesos. No, nagbibigay tayo ng pera from the taxes na binabayaran natin, pero hindi naman nila ginagawa yung trabaho nila. So sayang yung subsidy na binibigay natin. Pangatlo, pag inabolish ang NFA, bababa ang presyo ng bigas to almost 10 pesos per kilo.
The Congressional Oversight Committee urges the Department of Energy to cancel its order to local oil industry players to import Euro 2 diesel. Nel Mariboc tells us why.
The Department of Energy defends its order of importing Euro 2 diesel to oil industry players. During the Congressional Oversight Committee hearing, DOE explains that Euro 2 is lower by 28 to 30 centavos as compared to the current international standard Euro 4. The DOE argues that the importation of Euro 2 diesel is to help jeepney drivers with the increasing prices of basic commodities.
This is just temporary, and this is a fuel option addressing the marginalized sector.
Industry players, however, argue that they would be the one to suffer in the end as they would spend a large amount to build a new structure for a measure that is only temporary.
Yung cost nito would be too high.
Some experts meanwhile believe that Euro 2 diesel would not only damage motor engines of vehicles already using Euro 4, but it would also pose risk to human health as Euro 2 diesel is higher in toxic sulfur than Euro 4 diesel.
The sulfur will poison or damage the catalytic converter.
Hinga ka ng 0.75 ppm na sulfur.
Affected na ang lungs mo.
To lawmakers, the DOE should have done a careful study before it issued the department order.
If the demand increases for the Euro 2 kasi sabi mo nga mas mura, baka yung price ng Euro 2 at Euro 4 magkakaisa na.
Meanwhile, Senate Committee on Energy Chairman Senator Sherwin Gatchalian says the Oversight Committee has recommended to the DOE to completely cancel the importation order.
Then we will hold them accountable if they will insist because kanina sabi ng DOH magkakaroon ng maraming respiratory problem, no? Asthma, pneumonia.
The Energy Department, for its part, says it will consider the recommendation.
With the result of this hearing, I have to repair to the boss, to the secretary, and then we have to sit down.
Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Airport authorities assures that the situation at Davao City Airport remains normal following an anticipated bird strike. Dayan Ventura tells us why.
All 183 passengers of the Philippine Airlines flight PR-814 departed from the Davao City Airport this morning after Wednesday's bird strike. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines in Davao said they were properly assisted for flight rebooking and transfer, while a damaged aircraft will undergo repair.
Nagpadala og mekaniko ang PALS galing pang Manila to check sa eroplano. So nag-repair na karon siya ongoing. Ang mga pasahero palupad na kagahapon sa PAL ang uban gipasakay nila sa Cebu Pacific katong nagdali ang katong nabilin accommodate nila sa next flight.
Davao City Airport authorities also assure that the situation remains normal despite the incident.
Kung makikita niyo sa flight monitor natin, wala po mga delay. So normal, naging normal po yung operations natin. So business as usual.
According to the British Airline Pilots Association, a bird strike is common during takeoff and landing phases, but there is no reason to panic unless it is a swarm of birds, because an aircraft is capable of flying with only one engine working. Though it will undergo repair, airport authorities couldn't tell yet as to when will the damaged aircraft fly back to Manila. Dayan Ventura, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Wishers are partying at the BGC Arts Center for a special celebration. Leslie Longboan will tell us why. Live. Hi Leslie, good evening. Good evening, Rheena. Wishers are enjoying the Wish Party here at the BGC Arts Center as Wish 1075 celebrates its 4th anniversary. Despite the rain, Wishers stayed here to watch the show. The first and only FM booth on wheels, the Wish Bus is stationed here to give entertainment to the audience. Apart from the guest artists' Wish Bus performances, they also get the chance to interact personally to Wishers as they sing live at the concert area. Among the performers earlier were the Wishful 5, Karil, X-Battalion, Looney, Abra, among others. This year's celebration theme is Wish for Love, as Wish celebrates its 143 achievements. 1 stands for the 1 billion accumulated YouTube views of Wish channel, 4 for the 4 years of the station, and 3 for the 3 million YouTube subscribers of Wish YouTube channel. Rheena, currently on stage performing is R&B heartthrob Daryl Ong. And after the street party, there will be a separate party for the stakeholders to be held at the Maybank Performing Arts Theater. Rheena?
Thank you so much for that update, Leslie Lumbowen, live from Taguig City.
The Department of Foreign Affairs believes that President Rodrigo Duterte's historic trip to Israel will not hurt the country's ties with other nations. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
The visit of President Rodrigo Duterte to Israel from September 2 to 5 upon the invitation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is significant and historical. This is the first visit of a Philippine leader to the nation since the diplomatic ties of the two countries were established. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Ernesto Abella believes this visit will not affect the relationship of the country with other Arab nations in conflict with Israel. The Duterte administration pushes for an independent foreign policy with reiteration on being friends to all, enemies to none because of the thousands of Filipinos working and staying in these countries.
It's widening our horizons and so that we are able to strengthen our relationships with the rest of the nations. This is part of, and especially so because Filipinos are all over the world. And so it is quite crucial that we're able to have better relationships with our host countries.
The Philippine government is expected to sign with Israel and Jordan some agreements, including labor cooperation, during Duterte's visit. This is for the 28,300 Filipino workers in Israel and 40,000 OFWs in Jordan. Undersecretary Abella says the labor agreement aims to improve the deployment procedures and eliminate the excessive placement fees imposed on OFWs. In Jordan, one of the areas of cooperation to be discussed is the employment of domestic workers and improvement of working conditions for Filipinos in the country.
The President has seen it fit to at this particular stage to strengthen these ties, considering that there is an increasing engagement of Filipinos in that particular area of the world.
President Duterte is also expected to meet the Filipino community. Aside from this, other agreements and cooperation that will be inked pertain to science, agriculture, investment, and trade. In Jordan, an agreement intensifying defense cooperation will also be signed. President Duterte will be in Jordan from September 6 to 8 upon the invitation of King Abdullah II. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Consumers will now be able to find out how their electric bill arrived at such an amount. Here's why from Monokson.
Are you the type of consumer who only look at the electricity bill and pay the amount at face value? Or a consumer who scrutinizes every detail of the bill? We sought the help of experts to know how to compute an electric bill we pay every month. And we asked what components are included in our electricity bill, which is considered as the most expensive in Asia. According to experts, there is a simple method to estimate one's monthly electric consumption. Step 1 is to calculate the wattage of your appliance and multiply it by the number of hours used per day. Example is a television set with the 125 wattage used for 3 hours a day. Step 2, electricity is measured in kilowatt hours. Since we know that 1 kilowatt is equal to 1,000 watts, calculating the amount of kilowatt a particular device uses is as easy as dividing by 1,000. Step 3 is to know the monthly consumption by multiplying the watts per hour to 30 days. And step 4 is to compute how much you will pay for the month. Just look at your last electric bill and see how much you pay per kilowatt hour. For instance, if it is 10 pesos, just multiply the electricity rate on the kilowatt per month to know the estimated amount of your consumption. Meralco said consumers can download the Meralco Appliance Calculator for a more accurate computation. Consumers can also look for the orange tag when buying appliances to know how much they will be paying for a particular appliance. Marina calculated the monthly electricity consumption of her refrigerator and it yielded 655 pesos per month.
Yung refrigerator ang pinaka 24 hours na bukas, pinaka-importante. Hindi mo kailangang patayin kasi importante nga sa'yo. Tapos less than 1,000 lang. Tapos, ang babayaran ko sa buong buwan ay 4,000 556.97. Oh, di ba? Parang, oo nga, parang kahit na anong gawin kong compute, saan napunta yung iba? Bakit 3,000 agad?
But Meralco said her computation cannot be considered accurate because electricity costs will depend on the kind of appliance used.
But ito nga kasi is a very basic formula that na iga-guide ka lang, no? But not necessarily na ito yung magiging actual consumption niya because ang daming factors na i-consider mo dyan.
Aside from this, there are other components affecting a consumer's electricity bill. At the back of your electric bill, there are different cost components like the generation charge, which covers the cost of power purchased by Meralco from its suppliers. Transmission charge for the cost of delivery of electricity from power suppliers. Systems loss charge refers to the cost recovery of power loss due to technical and non-technical systems losses. Distribution charge, which covers the cost of developing, operating, and maintaining the system of Meralco. Metering charge, supply charge, taxes, and more. When computed, generation charge covers 55% of the monthly electric bill. Transmission charge is only 10.1%. Distribution charge is 17.5%. Taxes is 11.7% and other cost component for 5.7%. Meralco said only the distribution charge goes to Meralco and the rest goes to other suppliers. Meralco always reminds consumers to conserve energy and to bear in mind that computation is just a guide to know the monthly consumption. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.